There were a lot of places that were like, whatever television you want to do, we'll say yes. And I kind of was like, is that a good thing? That's probably a bad thing.
No, it's not bad. It's good.
There were several other people who wanted to be in business with Tom, wanted the Leftovers, and I had to kind of interview for the job. We exchanged some emails, and he came out to LA, and we had a meeting together, and I said, I just need to know where the 2% went, where did everybody depart to? And Tom said, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. And I thought, wow, what a relief to be working on something where you don't have to answer any mysteries.
Tom, did you know right away that Damon was the guy to do this with you?
Yeah, interestingly, I was watching Lost with my son at the time and was just blown away by the storytelling. I had never seen anything quite like that on TV. And it was both incredibly bold but deeply emotional, and that was exactly the kind of polls that I wanted the Leftovers to have, and he surpassed even my highest expectations for what that would be.
Who decided that Justin would be shirtless on all the billboards?
America decided. I just also want to say one thing, and just to make it clear, a lot of times Hollywood has a way of saying, oh my God, this book is amazing, we're going to get in a bidding war, we have to have the Leftovers, we love your book, and then as soon as they buy it, they're like, you're fired. And it was amazing that Tom, who basically lived in Boston for the last 3 years, came to LA and was part of the creative process in the writer's room constantly, has his name on, 10, 12 scripts over the course of the 3 years. He stayed engaged, and I think that the success of the show is largely because he stayed involved.
What made you think about Justin for this role in particular? Did you have him in mind for something, or was it specifically for this show?
I knew Justin from Mulholland Drive, which is a movie that I love, but then these kind of crazy comedies. He had done this Danny Bride movie and Wanderlust, and then at kind of the time that Leftovers was happening, he was known more for being a writer than an actor, which was incredibly intimidating because the last thing I need is like a great writer.
This is exactly what I write. I write all this kind of stuff.
Is this role for you? Is this something that you knew immediately that you wanted to do?
Oh, absolutely. I had read the book. I was a big Tom Perrotta fan, and I remember Nora's part in the book. She didn't have enough. There wasn't enough about her in the book for me. And I was still interested in her when the book was over.
Are there any evil characters on this show? Are there any bad guys?
To me as a writer, I'd say no, because I have to empathize with all the characters and sort of inhabit their problems. And if I think they're evil, then I can't do that. So for me, from a writing standpoint, my answer would be no to that.
I think that the characters who presented as the most evil when the show began was probably Ann Dowd.
Yeah.
And she left the show in the most incredibly empathic way.
The show made a very noticeable shift in tone after the first season. Why did that happen?
For anyone who's ever read Tom's writing, Election is the first real thing of his that I was familiar with, and it's hysterical. It's really funny. And he's a very funny guy. He is. And in his book, The Leftovers, which seemingly should just be all about darkness and despair and depression and mourning, there's a lot of humor. And I was rejecting that outright. I was in kind of a dark place. And I was just like, there's no room for anything other than despair, even though Tom and the other writers were trying to kind of get this weird absurdist humor in there. And then another really significant thing happened halfway through the first season, which is Mimi came aboard. And this is not to disparage anybody who preceded her, but I think that...
But read into it what you will.
Yeah, right. She directed the 5th episode, and then we immediately hired her as an executive producer. Then Tom Spezialy came on between seasons 1 and seasons 2, and I think that the collective influence of them and the other writers in saying it doesn't have to be funny, but there's this absurdist space. People laugh at wakes. You can crack a joke at a funeral, and therefore you should probably allow for that in the show. And when we started experimenting with it, it was working. And more importantly, I think that the characters were like, I don't want to feel this way anymore.